So when you hung up your cleats for the last time, that life after football, how have you applied those trials and tribulations to your personal life?
I mean, I think I was doing that along the way. I mean, I think, just my career, and I think sports in general highlights a lot of adversity because you face it more often because there's never any perfect play, right? No perfect practice, no perfect game. And so you're constantly hit with adversity, even though it's in the realm of sports, and you still have to deal with it. And that process of handling setbacks or things that don't turn out the right way, um, learning how to handle, how to process, and then move forward and grow from it, is something that I think you learn at a young age playing sports, and I think that's why, generally speaking, former athletes tend to do better once they do transition into whatever realm. So whether that's in from high school to college, you stop playing, or college to pros, because you've learned so many more life lessons. And not that you've learned more, you've just been hit with, you've had a lot more practice at them. And so now that I've transitioned, for me, understanding how to work in a team environment, how to lead a group of people, how to handle adversity, how to be resilient when different things come, how to really build, because I played a significant amount of time, how to create my own routine. Because by the end of my career, I kind of had developed my own program from different people. When did I need to be lifted? How do I want to lift, depending on the time of the year, the type of physical therapy that I needed, building out my programs, right? And so that's kind of the thing that I'm kind of doing more on my own now, is trying to build those things in my life. And so those are probably some of the principles, or a lot of the principles, that I learned from playing the game that I'm implementing now, that's going to allow me to transition, I think, better. And so just trying to be mindful of that. I've always think I've been intentional just from learning from guys that have went on before me.
Yes, sir.
And that's really kind of my passion now, making sure other guys can kind of take that model and use it, because you just never know when your career is going to end. I was fortunate to kind of say I'm done, but most guys don't see it coming.
Definitely. So, looking back at your NFL career and your college career and your high school career, what was the hardest moment for you personally and as a player?
Um, One of the hardest is being in Washington one year. I played really well. Had been there for 6 years, 7 years. Had been there for 7 years, and they didn't want to resign me. It was kind of like the first time since the last time of not being drafted and being cut a couple of times that somebody told me that they didn't want me to be a part of their organization. That sense of rejection, when I felt like I had been playing pretty well at a high level, and I wanted to stay there because of the relationships that I had created, the environment that me and my wife had started to build. She was a real estate agent. We had a small business in the city. You had a lot of connections, just really comfortable and content with where we were at. But I think God wanted more for me as far as a man and a person, and be able to, kind of move and touch other people in other markets, and also be impacted by them as I look back on it. But I mean, going through that time, it was really hard. I mean, I cried when they told me they wasn't going to take me back. I mean, I'm calling on the phone, like trying to talk to the GM and the head coach, and like, man, what's going on? I thought we had a deal done, and they decided they didn't want to do it. And so that was really hard. But again, looking back, it was all for a purpose, because I'm in a much better place, went to much better places, got to see what good organizations look like, be connected with other great athletes, people that I probably would have never known or got to know as intimately. And then I was able to go play at home one year, and then obviously in my career up in Buffalo, and how that kind of put me back on more of a national stage, and it's given me the ability to kind of leverage that to impact more people.
Definitely. So, what advice would you give a younger player coming up to the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, I get to talk to these guys a lot. I'm working with Exos right now, training a group of linebackers out here in Phoenix, and it's really been cool to kind of speak to them on a consistent basis. And it's so much stuff that you have to, because so many lessons that you want to try to help guys with. But I think when it boils down to everything, is I tell guys, like we had this conversation yesterday, you have to have a firm understanding of who you are apart from this game. You cannot allow yourself to get wrapped up in this game. And so having a true understanding, and that understanding can evolve and change because we all change over time, but having a firm identity, and for me, I tell them, hey, it's Christ. That's something that's never going to change. That relationship is never going to change. Christ is the same every single day. And so when you wrap yourself in other things can change, maneuver. They say they're one thing and it's something different, and it ends at some point, whatever you decide to do. And so for me, it's developing a relationship with Christ if you don't already have one. Two is developing relationship with people while you're there, getting to really know people, whether it's your teammates, coaches, people in the community service or public relations, the janitor. That was something I thought I really benefited from in Buffalo. The way the culture was established is that we intertwine and talk and get to intermingle with different people in the building in different aspects, and it's really good to develop those relationships because again, and not that you're setting out for this, but you're going to need some help at some point. You may transition, and when you build real, sustainable, intimate relationships, hey, you have a connection still to the NFL. Like for me, I had the privilege of doing it for 15 years, and now I'm away from it. If I really wanted to coach right now, there's probably 4 or 5 guys I could call and at least get like an internship, if not more, right? And it's not because of I'm this great coach. It's because we've developed a good relationship. And there's probably the same amount of organizations where I could probably work as a player engagement guy, right? So building those relationships allows you to have doors and access that you wouldn't otherwise have. So I tell them to do that. And then lastly, earn it daily. Pick up your cross daily. Don't take a moment for granted because you never know when it's going to end. And just continue to grow, having that growth mindset. And so I guess those would be the 4 principles. Find your identity in Christ, build great relationships, earn it daily, and then always have that growth mindset. I think it's what it will allow guys to maximize their opportunity in the NFL. That's not going to guarantee you a 15-year career, but it's going to guarantee you that you maximize the time that God gives you to play in the league, that you maximize it to its fullest ability.